You rehearse the conversation before you make the call. You walk into a room and immediately find the wall to stand near. You say something in a group and spend the whole drive home replaying it, word by word, wondering if it came out wrong. That's not shyness. That's weight. And you've been carrying it for a long time. But here's what that weight actually means. It means you care. You care about connection. You care about how you show up. That's not a flaw. That's depth. And the fact that you're here, looking for a way through this, that already says something powerful about who you're becoming. These 7 habits won't just calm your anxiety in the moment. They'll slowly start to change the person you believe yourself to be. If this kind of real, psychology-backed content speaks to you, hit subscribe right now, because this channel is built exactly for you. Stay till habit 6. That one hits different. But first, why does your brain keep doing this to you? Here's the truth nobody tells you. Your brain genuinely cannot tell the difference between a lion chasing you and a coworker who might judge you. That's not a metaphor. That's neuroscience. Your amygdala, the brain's alarm system, fires the exact same threat response in both situations. Heart rate up, breath shallow, mind goes blank. It was never about weakness. It was never about being too sensitive. Your brain learned somewhere along the way that social situations carry risk, and it started protecting you the only way it knows how: aggressively. And here's what's beautiful about that. The same sensitivity that makes social anxiety exhausting is also what makes you deeply empathetic, self-aware, and emotionally intelligent. That's not a flaw. That's a gift running on the wrong setting. And we're about to adjust that setting, one small habit at a time, starting with the fastest nervous system reset science has ever found. Number 1, the 4-second reset that stops anxiety mid-spiral. Most people, when anxiety hits in a social situation, do one of 3 things. They freeze, they escape, or they white-knuckle through it while their mind screams on the inside. None of those work. All 3 leave you more drained than before. Here's what actually works, and it takes 4 seconds. It's called a physiological sigh. You take 1 deep inhale through your nose, then a short second inhale on top of it, and then a long, slow exhale through your mouth. Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman has called this the fastest known way to reduce stress in real time. It directly activates your parasympathetic nervous system, your body's calm-down switch. Picture this. You're about to speak in a meeting and you feel that familiar tightening in your chest. Instead of spiraling, you take that breath. Quietly. Nobody notices. But your nervous system does. That tiny breath is an act of self-respect. You're telling your body, I've got this. But calming your body is only half the battle. Your mind is still running stories. Dark ones. And habit 2 is how you stop believing every single one of them. Number 2, you are not your anxious thoughts. Here's what most people do with anxious thoughts. They fight them. They tell themselves to stop overthinking, to calm down, to just relax. And what happens? The thoughts get louder, more insistent, more convincing. That's not a personal failure. That's just how the brain works. The more you resist a thought, the more mental energy you pour into it. Psychologists call the solution cognitive defusion, a technique from acceptance and commitment therapy developed by Dr. Stephen Hayes. And it's beautifully simple. Instead of fighting the thought, you just label it. You say to yourself, I'm having the thought that people are judging me. Not, people are judging me. There's a world of difference between those 2 sentences. One pulls you under. The other lets you watch the wave from the shore. You've spent years believing you were the anxiety. You're not. You're the one noticing it. You're the observer, and that tiny distance between you and the thought, that's where your freedom lives. Your mind is steadier now, but your body is still sending signals to the room and to yourself. Habit 3 shows you how to use that to your advantage in a way most people never even consider. Number 3, use your body to convince your brain you're safe. Most people think body language is about impressing others. Stand tall, make eye contact, look confident. And while that's not wrong, it's missing the deeper truth. Your body doesn't just communicate outward, it communicates inward. Research from Harvard psychologist Cuddy and later studies in embodied cognition show that the way you hold your body sends constant signals back to your own nervous system. Slow, open, grounded movement tells your brain, this environment is safe. Hunched shoulders, a tight jaw, and rapid blinking tell your brain the opposite. So here's a 3-point reset you can run in under 5 seconds, anywhere. Soften your shoulders away from your ears. Plant your feet flat on the floor. Let your hands rest open instead of clasped or crossed. That's it. No power pose. No performance. Just a quiet, dignified signal to your own nervous system that you belong in this room. You don't need to feel confident to move confidently. You just need to move like someone who believes they're allowed to be here. And slowly, your brain will start to agree. But there's still one mental trap keeping most anxious people stuck. And it's built on a lie your brain has been telling you for years. Habit 4 dismantles it completely. Number 4. The spotlight was never on you. Think about the last time you said something awkward in a group, or stumbled over your words, or felt your face go red at the worst possible moment. In that moment, it probably felt like every single person in that room noticed. Like the spotlight swung directly onto you and stayed there. Here's what the research actually shows. Psychologist Thomas Gilovich at Cornell University ran a series of studies on what he called the spotlight effect, our tendency to dramatically overestimate how much other people notice us. In one study, participants who wore an embarrassing t-shirt into a room estimated that about half the people noticed. The real number? Less than a quarter. People are not watching you nearly as closely as you think. They're too busy managing their own internal weather, their own worries, their own self-consciousness, their own mental replays. That silence you thought was awkward? They moved on in seconds. That stumble you made? Forgotten before you even left the room. You have been performing for an audience that wasn't even paying attention. And that means you're allowed to relax now. You're allowed to just be there. And once you stop monitoring yourself so hard, something remarkable becomes possible. You can finally do what Habit 5 teaches. Actually show up in conversations instead of just surviving them. Number 5, stop performing. Start connecting. Here's the core problem with social anxiety that nobody names clearly enough. When you're anxious in a social situation, you become the subject of your own conversation. Inside your head, you are the topic. How you're coming across, what your face is doing, whether you're being interesting enough, whether they like you. And that internal monologue is exhausting because it's also completely invisible to the other person, which means you're burning massive energy on a performance nobody asked for. Confident, connected people aren't doing that. They're not thinking about themselves at all. They're thinking about the person in front of them. Research on social connection consistently shows that the people others describe as great to talk to aren't the wittiest or the most impressive. They're the ones who make other people feel genuinely seen. And the way you do that is disarmingly simple. You get curious. You ask one real question, and then you actually listen to the answer. The moment you shift your attention from "how am I doing" to "who is this person," your anxiety shrinks. Because you're no longer the subject. They are. And curiosity is a far more comfortable place to live than performance. But Habit 6 goes somewhere deeper than attention. This is the one most people never reach. And it's the reason some people genuinely transform, while others just cope for the rest of their lives. Number 6, stop managing anxiety. Start changing who you think you are. Every technique we've covered so far works. The breath, the thought labeling, the body reset, the spotlight awareness, the curiosity shift, they all work. But here's the quiet truth underneath all of them. If you keep seeing yourself as someone who struggles socially, you will keep struggling socially. Because your behavior will always drift back toward your identity. Always. Author James Clear put it perfectly in Atomic Habits. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you believe yourself to be. And most people with social anxiety have been casting the same vote over and over without realizing it. I'm not good in social situations. I'm awkward. I'm too much in my head. That story feels like truth, but it's not. It's a habit, a deeply worn groove in your thinking. And here's the truth that I want you to actually feel, not just hear. Every single time you use one of these habits, every time you take that breath instead of freezing, every time you label a thought instead of drowning in it, every time you ask a genuine question instead of retreating into your head, you are casting a vote for a new version of yourself. Quietly, powerfully, one moment at a time. You don't transform overnight, but you do transform. And it starts with deciding that the anxious identity is not the final word on who you are. Habit 7 is how you make that decision stick every single day. Number 7, end every day by collecting your own courage. This last habit takes 2 minutes, and it might be the most underrated thing on this entire list. Every night, before you sleep, write down one moment from your day where you showed up despite the anxiety. It doesn't have to be dramatic. Maybe you spoke up in a meeting when part of you wanted to stay silent. Maybe you made eye contact and held it a second longer than usual. Maybe you just stayed in the uncomfortable situation instead of finding an excuse to leave. Write it down. One sentence. That's it. This isn't journaling for the sake of journaling. This is evidence collection. You are building a case to yourself that you are not the person anxiety says you are. Neuroscience backs this completely. The brain strengthens the neural pathways it focuses on most. What you rehearse mentally, you reinforce neurologically. Most people end their day replaying what went wrong. Every awkward moment on repeat, like a highlight reel of everything they wish they could take back. This habit rewires that. It trains your brain to scan for courage instead of cringe, for progress instead of failure. And slowly, not all at once, but steadily, you stop seeing yourself as someone who struggles. You start seeing someone who tries, someone who shows up, someone who is, quietly and powerfully, changing. And trying? Trying is everything. Now let's bring all of this together, because these 7 habits aren't just techniques. They're the beginning of something much bigger than calm. Let's do a quick run through all 7, not as a checklist, but as a reminder of what you now carry with you. The 4-second physiological sigh that interrupts the spiral before it takes over. The cognitive defusion technique that reminds you, you are not your thoughts. The body reset that sends safety signals inward, not just outward. The spotlight effect that proves the audience in your head was never really watching. The curiosity shift that moves you from performance to genuine connection. The identity reframe that turns every small act of courage into a vote for who you're becoming. And the nightly evidence collection that rewires your brain to see progress instead of failure. 7 small habits. Real science. Real change. Social anxiety told you that you were too much, too awkward, too broken to belong. It told you that the room wasn't for you, that the conversation wasn't yours to join, that you were better off watching from the edge. It lied. You were always capable of connection. You just needed the right tools and the courage to try. And the fact that you watched this entire video, that is the courage. That's already the first vote cast for the new version of you. If this gave you something real today, please subscribe. Every week, this channel puts out content built on actual psychology, not empty motivation. Because you deserve advice that genuinely works, delivered in a way that actually respects your intelligence. And if this video resonated with you, drop a comment below. Tell me which habit hit closest to home. Your words might be exactly what someone else needs to read today. Share this with someone who carries this weight too. You might not know who needs it, but they do. And if you want more of this, like the video, it tells me to keep going. You are not your anxiety. You never were. Now go show the room who you actually are.